Okay, so why did I start the master's program? Well, essentially, I have been thinking about owning my own business. I don't know. I wouldn't say since right out of college, but definitely, well, maybe so, in the last 10 years. My father is an entrepreneur. He has a commercial real estate appraising business that he started, I guess, when I was like 3 years old. So I've always grown up with the mentality of his business being part of our life. Our family vacations centered around business that he had in different areas. So I'm real familiar with the work ethic of a successful entrepreneur, and I consider him that. Um, so, it's always been a part of who I am, and I guess I never really embraced that. My degree is in psychology, and I work at Johnson and Wales University and have been in the food service industry more or less most of my working career. And I've done some teaching, so I thought education was really, where I wanted to go with my career. But as I'm getting older, I'm approaching 40, and I have a 5-year-old son, and I just keep having that gnawing feeling in the back of my mind that, I should be doing this for myself, and the stresses that I feel on the job, I want to be, you know, stresses that I created.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Worth the effort, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because I take everything very seriously. I take my job seriously. Any of the work that I do, I pride myself on doing to the best of my ability. And I just, not that I feel like that it's been wasted by any means, but I feel like it's finally time for me to be putting that investment in myself.
Right.
So I was scared for years to do anything, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of what kind of business would I want. And I think that's what held me up all these years is I just felt like I wasn't good enough. I'm a total perfectionist, and I felt like I wasn't good enough. I didn't know, whatever it may have been, I wasn't the quintessential expert on whatever it may be, so I couldn't possibly own a business if I didn't know every pod, like for example, food service, like a restaurant, something like that. I'm not a chef. I'm not trained in the restaurant industry formally, so there's no way I could have a restaurant. But something's happened to me, I guess, in the past few years, and I decided, well, you know what? Why don't you educate yourself on how to have a business, and then you can make that decision. I was tired of being in a place of ignorance and saying that I couldn't do it because I didn't know, and I thought to myself, well, you know what? You need to find out.
Right.
And that's really what led me to this program. And plus a coworker of my husband's. My husband's a chef here at Johnson and Wales. And I work in administration here, but a co-worker, a chef, had gone through this program, and I think he graduated last year. So I knew someone that had been through the program, and he highly recommended it, and all these things were just kind of aligning themselves to make this the right decision and for now to be the right time for me to do it.
Right. Neat.
Yeah.
So you're going to continue with it while you're working.
Absolutely.
And then do you plan to, so now what did you say your business would be? You don't really know?
Well, I have an idea of what I would want. It would probably be some type of restaurant. I don't know that it would necessarily be full service, or I don't know what kind of hours it would be. I mean, I'm fully aware of the commitments of the restaurant industry, and I'm not quite willing to, give up my nights at this point. So my husband and I have talked about, having maybe something, like a deli or a cafe that would be open maybe breakfast and lunch and close for dinner, that kind of thing. So that is, I guess, probably my main focus right now. But when I was talking to someone else in the cohort, I had mentioned that I had read an article about a different type of business in the food service industry, but it provides support to people that are developing recipes and provides kitchen space and this sort of thing. And I guess it just kind of started me thinking, like, you can think outside of the box on this, and I've got time to do that, given this program is 2 years, and I want to be open to other ideas. As if we're doing that reading in the E-Myth, I can relate to a lot of it, but the main character, he calls her the reluctant entrepreneur, and I kind of feel like I'm the opposite of that. Like, I don't have the trade, but I have training in human resources, and I have training in accounting, and I have training in marketing, and I have some sales training, and like I have everything else but that. So I kind of feel the opposite, which I don't know. I think in a way makes me have an advantage, that I wouldn't be a slave to the business, and if it is a cafe, a slave to the kitchen and that sort of thing. So I feel really good about this decision, in pursuing this degree for that reason, because all of those aspects of running a business really interest me. The marketing aspect of it really interests me. The accounting part of it. Not that I would want to do that day in and day out every day, but I like that part, that would be part of my responsibility. So that's kind of where I am in terms of, where I want this to go.
Well, neat. So what do you think about the E-Myth then? I know you touched on it, but...
I do identify with a lot of the things that he said in there in terms of thinking about, I guess, the way you think and the way you react. And I can, absolutely identify with that part of it. So I find it a little cumbersome to have to get through some of the way that he presents the material. But for the most part, I like it. And I think I can get something out of it, I guess.
Great. Are you having a hard time staying up with reading and getting your interviews and everything?
Yeah, the time is definitely a challenge. I feel, well, more than that, I feel is the technology aspect of it, and I like that kind of thing. But I've never blogged. I've never done a podcast. This is my first time, just the other day, doing Skype and all of that. I like it. I like being forced to learn the technology, but it definitely adds pressure to the other things that we have to do and commitments that we have for the class. It feels like that's almost like the hidden assignments, It's funny, before I started looking at this program, I guess, and I work for a university, so I'm around, quote unquote, young people all the time, every day. But my husband and I talk about, Twitter, and I have a Facebook page, but we would talk about these things. And I said, this is just all the social media, and it's too much. It's too much, And now I'm finding myself really thinking about it from a business owner's perspective and thinking, wow, I really need to learn this as a tool for my potential business, and I need to not just dismiss it because it's not something that I, grew up with, and oh, I'm too old for that or whatever,
Right.
Trying to look at it from a different way and seeing, well, what will I be able to get out of it eventually to help
Right.
me, So I agree with you. I think I had no earthly idea that this course in particular was going to be so technologically oriented. None at all. And
Right.
I'm sure that's probably most of us. This is about, me individually learning the most that I can. So,
Right.
But that's been challenging.
Thank you, Tracy. You're an inspiration.
Oh, that's nice.
I know you'll do well.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.